frontier is defined as uncharted territory by land or ocean. Those who chart that territory tell a story. The past illustrates the blueprint for the present, how things are and how they've evolved. From land to water, we are challenged to border that new frontier, a frontier the outdoorsman knows like no other. Author Gary Lewis works his way along that edge of where discoveries, failures, and achievements have written the story of the sportsman.
Yes! Yes!
From state to state, continent to continent, the stories told create the foundation of the present, and they lay the framework for the future. Through the muzzle fire and on the stone are stories from the edge.
Water is the most important thing as far as Indians are concerned, 'cause that's life.
The past is written, the present is here, and this is Frontier Unlimited.
When Lewis and crew checked in at the Driftwood Inn in Homer, the girls behind the desk looked at them with pity. One of them clicked up the weather report, as if they didn't know the forecast, as if they hadn't checked it every day for the past week. All night the wind pounded against the windows, and then 2 hours before dawn, the storm had passed.
Good to see you. Good, Garrett. This is Hayden. Hayden, there either. That's Brian, young man. We're going to settle in, have a safety briefing, and we're going to get this thing underway. Awesome. Get the fishing licenses out. Ready to go? Yes, ready to go.
This morning, it was important to be on time. Lewis realized it had to do with the tide and a certain spot he had in mind, a place that held fish where he left it the night before. They didn't waste any time, driving out between the jaws of the jetty at the end of the Homer Spit.
We're on the Arctic Addiction. It's Mike Manns' boat. Mike is our captain today, and Hayden Gandy is the deckhand. Hayden's from Montana. He's an elk and deer hunter there, 26 years old. This boat is 33 feet long. It's a New Zealand style hull and custom made in Kenai. And we're running two 225 horse Hondas.
We're gonna be looking for bait fish schooled up on the bottom, birds diving. We got new technology, Garmin fish finders we're gonna be using, locating our targets down there 20, 30, 40 feet. Been pretty successful the last few days out here. Lots of bait, lots of birds, lots of fish. Just gotta make them bite. We're gonna be using troll herring, 5-inch. We got a triple trailer hook set up. We're gonna be running behind our flashers.
Looking for, actually looking out for logs right now, just cracking daylight, and looking for bait along the way in the water column. And once we find bait, we'll find salmon. And we got a tide switch coming up. During that tide switch, these fish should come on the feed. So we're always looking for those little changes in the current that'll make them bite.
Looking forward to the fish. It's great out here. Good weather. Perfect weather, in fact.
Kings stage off the mudflats and eat bait fish that get stuck out in the tide. Manns checked his electronics and his location.
Okay, how deep are we starting?
We're gonna be running 3 at 27 feet, 35 and 37.
Off to the port side, Lewis saw shallower waters where river floods had poured sand into huge flats.
Just put a line in, I got whacked on the surface. That's a good sign.
Right there, yep. Hooked up. Pop it off the clip?
Yep. First king salmon in the boat.
Good deal. And that was the second bite. That's how quickly it started today.
And initially, the big thing is, it looks like we got a bite going already.
Yeah.
Is to get the bait back in the water as fast as possible. So we're gonna regroup here real quick. Excuse me, sir. Try to keep these all coiled up for quick turnaround here. Okay, back in the water we go. This is called a cop car flasher. Has a nice action. It's a beck hold. It has a special spin to it. The fish seem to like it this morning. Scotty release, Scotty downriggers. All Shimano gear. Shimano Charter Special, Shimano Tellura rods. The best of the best. Okay, that's the first one. So a nice little king. Who knows where it came from? Maybe Kalama, Washington. The mouth on a king is black. There's also a different number of spots in the tail and different number of rays in the fins from some of our other fish that we catch.
I'm waiting for that rod to bend. That's what I'm waiting for.
The other.
You got a fish on your right.
Turn around, Ron. You got a fish on.
Come on, do it.
This was what I was waiting for, Sam.
Less pumping and more reeling because they have a very soft mouth.
There's some debris out there.
Getting tired, Ron?
No.
Do you need somebody to help you?
Cheer me on.
Hayden Gandy, a deckhand, was a diesel mechanic from Montana. He had come to fish with Mans earlier in the year and liked it so much he stepped out of line at the airport when Mans called with the job offer.
Woo! Nice. Great, great. Great.
Good job, man. Good salmon. Nice fish.
Very nice job.
Very nice fish. That's about as awesome a fish as you're going to find.
Hooked up.
Okay, fish on right behind you.
Fish on.
Keep your tip up and just crank.
Oh man.
Come over here and get this fish.
Awesome. This will be my first king.
Bob, lean in.
Yeehaw.
Just as a reminder, don't force him to the net. Once you crank to that flasher, it's a nice fish. He'll let you know when he's ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
While the first fish was a 5-pounder and the second twice its size, and almost each one they hooked was 10 to 14 pounds. Ken Baker caught another one, the size of Lewis's first fish.
Well done, people. Good job. Awesome. Awesome.
I'll dance. Yeah.
Nice work, Hayden.
Yeah.
Getting her done.
The bait fish are coming out of that mud flat then, and these fish are getting up there and hitting it.
Yeah, the bait's getting pushed in with the tide here.
Yeah, so it's kind of a pocket where it all comes together and the good feed.
Exactly.
Okay, fish on. No? Yeah. Oh man.
When the mud was close, the port side rod started to pulse with a fish that was already stripping out line.
Ooh.
Is there another one on?
It's like the feeders are hungry this morning. Good eating fish.
There you go.
Hooked up.
You, Bob.
Okay, we're just gonna leave this in here for now. Hang on to that.
Man, did you see that rod bend?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that mud coming at him.
Mans threw a look over his shoulder at the advancing mud, and Lewis and Mans both knew they had a limited time in this bite.
Wow, great fish.
Beautiful.
Good job, man. Good job, guys. Mud line's coming right at us. And we'll shut these fish down immediately. We got to beat the mud here. So back in the water we go. 35 feet. Ready to go. We're catching. One thing I'll say, gentlemen, early is always good.
Yeah, it's all
Be
right.
here another half hour later, we wouldn't be able to fish this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
early.
Kings stage off the mud flats and eat bait fish that get stuck out on the tide.
Oh yeah.
This fish was hot. Time and again, it came close, then burned out on another run.
Went a long way out before I started getting any line back. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like.
The mud was close, and the fish went in and out. Till the net flashed and the 15-pound king was Lewis's.
Man, we got a double going on right now. We can almost call it a triple. I just caught this big fish right here. Look at that. Just reeled that right in. Right here, that fish. Look at that sweetheart. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. What you doing there, Gary?
Good nice fish there. We got to get this nice fish. Come on over here, sir. I'll sit down there. In the bag. Silver salmon. Yeah. Silver salmon.
Silver salmon.
Yes. We got somehow got them crossed. We got to put a ball back on here now.
Whew,
Crazy
beautiful.
day. Everyone's calling me and I'm not answering.
The mud killed the light, Mans muttered. The bait is still there. The salmon are still there, but they won't bite.
That was like
That's great.
That was like a 2.5-ul. I had just got this one on. It was still on the line when this one bit. Then that one was fighting. So that was some fast action, and the mud came right in on us while we were getting it done. This one fought really hard. It was the fish I was looking for out here today. And this one in the middle is a silver salmon, which we sure didn't even expect to see today. And so that's a bonus fish. It doesn't count against our king limit.
How big is that fish? What do you think that weighs? Okay, looks like
About 12 pounds probably.
Yeah.
made some really tight turns, and our downrigger balls got crisscrossed in the current, caused them to come together, and it bird nested the downrigger. Nothing we can't handle.
U-turns, man. That's all about U-turns.
You love the U-turns.
For some reason, these kings, they have soft mouth out here in the ocean. I'm sure there's some scientific reason for it, but in the freshwater, they're hard mouth.
Within 72 hours of them entering freshwater, their scales get rock hard, and so do their jaws. Then in turn, you got to set the hook like you mean it.
Right, you got to really pound
Yes.
them in the
People
freshwater.
think it's king salmon, you got to set the hook, but out here, you're better off just to reel it tight. It'll set itself.
That stuff sticks really good. It stays on that for a long time with the super sauce.
For this early September trip, the crew had intended to fish for big lingcod and yellow eye out in open water, but that plan was foiled by heavy seas between Anchor Point and Port Graham.
This is what those salmon are eating. It's what's coming out of those mud flats. If you were to slice their bellies open, you'd find a lot of this stuff inside them. What's really important about a fish like this is that you hold it out to the camera and it makes it look bigger. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have brought some tartar sauce along. You know, we have a tradition that when the bite is slow, which it just got slow,
Right.
we have a chocolate donut. You want one?
Sure.
Because you would be the next up.
Never turned down a chocolate. This outgoing tide pulled all this mud in, and you know, a lot of times we'll fish out here and that mud will only be a foot or two below the surface, and we'll be catching kings and silvers out here, netting them right through the mud, clear water underneath. They're still here, we're just waiting for them to turn back on.
We have a place in the 10-fathom line we call the dog leg, first and second dog leg here. It kind of comes out and back in, and there's a steep shelf right off the edge of it here. We're going to hug the edge of that shelf and work this clear water right back to where we came. We're fishing. Looking at 45 feet of water right here. Got a shelf just inside us. We're going to work our way right along this 10-fathom line. These king salmon swim in and out of here, chasing bait, seeing a little bit of stuff on the screen.
They call them feeder kings, immature Chinook salmon, which may be in their first year at salt or might be in their 5th year, weighing up to 30 pounds or more.
Water now, so it's not very thick. If they just find something hungry enough to bite.
Yeah, roger that.
He's still back in the cove?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on an expansion channel.
So this is my brother Paul's ashes. He passed away in September of 2005. And I didn't know this until recently. His son and my sister-in-law, his wife, had asked if I would bring him to Alaska to sprinkle his ashes here. Reason being is that he was stationed in the Army up here in the 60s at Fort Richardson in Anchorage. He was here, I think, in '64 during the big earthquake. He loved it up here. He probably did some fishing out in here. And so we just wanted to sprinkle his ashes here.
This is as good a place as I can imagine.
Yeah.
In Kechemak Bay.
Yep. I think you would enjoy that. And that's it. He was a great guy. He was 10 years older than me, so he's a very important person in my life.
Yeah.
One of the most painful experiences when I found that he passed away unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to do this.
We got them working, so it's
Look at this. Fish,
we got
fish,
fish
fish,
hooked up right here.
Tide had flowed back, pushing the mud back for the time being. 2 hours after the bite stopped, it started again.
Perfect. Lip hook. No bleeding. That fish will be just fine and grow up.
Actually, you've reeled more fish in than anybody today.
I know my arm's tired.
Well, that's the way you should, you know, rest out of the rotation.
That's you! That's you!
In the saltwater, these feeder kings are as bright and shiny as they will ever be.
Who's next? Ken's wore out.
I'm worn out, yeah. Me.
They're feeder Chinook, and a jack isn't a jack until it hits the river.
Yeah, they call jacks nature's safety valve. They're going to come in the river. They're early returners, and they will fertilize any eggs that haven't been fertilized. The problem with jacks, you're going to get a big, good-sized female laying eggs, and a little jack fertilizing them, which makes a medium-sized king salmon in the long run.
Yeah, these are the juvenile
Got a
kings.
good one on.
And now we got one on.
Oh! Oh, yes.
Yep, got another hook up. Feel and drag. Gotta love it.
Bob has another big one on, and this is what he came for.
These same fish, when they hit fresh water, go through startling changes.
Oh, beautiful green back on that thing. He swallowed that hook.
There we go. I like spots and sheen. Oh, that for me? Oh. I think it's a smaller fish myself.
The sea lice start to die, the scales set and their mouths harden. On males, the jaws change shape, and the teeth grow fast and closer to spawn.
That was the long distance release. Okay. Thank you. Whoa.
Making a little progress now.
Try to put yourself in the captain's chair. He or she is in the hospitality business, putting you over fish.
Yeah, look at that.
Man. That is a fish. Wow.
That is a fish. I'm going to have somebody help me carry it.
Look at that.
Fish of the day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That felt good.
Good.
Yeah.
Gave us a little trouble, but we countered on. That treble was just barely hanging on right there at the top of the jaw.
Oh, yeah.
That is a whale. That is a fish. I will say that it's the biggest salmon I've ever caught.
Well, I would think so.
The more I cranked, the less progress I made. In fact, I was making negative progress. But it's here. It's just pure skill on my part, I think, is why this fish is in the boat.
That broke your
unofficial weight, 25 pounds.
25, wow. 27, do I hear 28? 28, going once, going twice. Okay, we'll say 27 pounds.
Wow, that's awesome.
Very nice.
That's a beauty.
27-pound feeder king salmon aboard the Arctic Addiction, managed charter service, Kechemak Bay, Alaska.
I won't stop smiling for at least a week after that fish. Most incredible fish I've ever caught. Certainly the biggest salmon, and I'll just have to call it a day.
A salmon in the prime of its life is going to fight as hard as it ever will. And a king salmon can reduce the traveling angler to a ragged bundle of nerves with slashing runs, head shakes, and gill-rattling jumps. In some places, the low tide will provide the best bite. A good captain and deckhand take all these factors into account while they hunt for the fish you will pack into a waxed box and slide over the baggage counter in Anchorage. Whether the fish bite or not is between you and God. Getting the fish to the net is all on you.